Was about to record a video, but can you hear that? If you can hear it, we're in a big hailstorm right now. It's 1 a.m. Dang. Okay, welcome back, my little nightmares. It's me, Queen Nightmare. I was watching too much TikTok and I needed to get out of it, so this is what I'm doing. My gosh, that's loud. Oh, I'm just debating if I should do another creepypasta fanfiction or I should just go to the Drarry Fanfiction, which I'm gonna do, but if you want more creepypasta, comment down below because I'm kind of confused of which one I should do next. Because I do want to read more, but I was like, what? Oh, now it's quieting down. Finally. Okay. I did want to do more, but I didn't know which one I should do. So I'm just gonna go on to the next Drarry. I'm just gonna go to Drarry. Don't even remember what chapter I'm on, and I didn't save it too. Son of a bitch. Okay. Now it's really quiet. What the fuck? Okay, this has to be it. Chapter 19. Why the heck did you drop? Urges. The good and bad. Hello, Brooklyn. The all-time low. That's the song. Not all-time low, but hello. Is it? Did they just... Because I know an all-time low song, but I didn't know that... Is that the band, or is that the music? I'm so confused. Anyways, third person POV. On any given day, Harry hated his life with a passion that probably wasn't normal. Well, the more accurate statement was when Harry hated the person he was forced to deal with, the people he was forced to deal with on a daily basis. Perhaps if his best friend, Ronald Weasley, was actually his friend, he wouldn't feel the urge to constantly kill and strangle. Wait, that was new. Even since Ron and Lucius had their scuffle in the hospital wing, Harry had been slightly stranger. At least I'd been pulling away from people, from everyone, his sister too. Then this changed from I'm just busy with schoolwork and can't have a social life to I'm not showing up to classes anymore if I don't want to. Somehow, despite not showing up to classes, he still did the homework and maintained good grades. He showed up to some classes, while other classes he never turned up in. Even then, the teachers didn't really mention his absence, nor did they really seem to care. Then again, teachers rarely cared about their students. Then 2 weeks later, Harry appeared fine once more. He returned to classes as normal. He even began to talk to people on a regular basis. He smiled and grinned at them, chatting aimlessly with Lavender Brown, Parvati Patel, Neville Longbottom, Seamus Finnegan, Dean Thomas, and his sister. It appeared that nothing was wrong, absolutely nothing at all. But deep down, nothing was okay. Harry was on... Bitch, shut up. I'm in the middle of a video. Can you not right now? Harry was on the brink of a breakdown, an epic meltdown. He'd been fine up until recently, when Ron began to try new stuff. Okay, new bullying tactics. Harry knew he was the son of one of the most feared Dark Lords in existence, and that he could definitely kill someone like his father had done countless times. But Harry didn't want to. The idea of murdering someone because they were bothering Harry just didn't sit well with him, especially considering the fact that Ron had been a former friend. 2 weeks of self-isolation, all because Harry received a letter with a charm. The charm wasn't sweet and innocent, however. Rather, the charm made Harry's eyes swell shut, and the rest of his body swelled up and broke out in rashes. It was so bad enough that he stayed in bed all day with Poppy being into the boys' dorms when the other boys were in classes to try and find a way to undo the hex. It was bad enough that Poppy was afraid to move Harry, afraid of his condition could spread or that someone might try to further his condition. She yelled at him for squinting and doing his homework. When anyone asked why he was gone, he just said that something personal came up concerning his Muggle relatives. Hermione didn't fall for it. But he'd tell her at a later date. Draco curled up on the bed next to Harry, never leaving his side. Besides, there were times when students disappeared for different reasons, and it wasn't like Dumbledore tried to help find something to fix Harry. Dumbledore only said, "Pity. I'm sure he'll get over it soon enough." Anyways, just delivered his work to him. Harry was perfectly fine with pretending that he wasn't on the brink of a mental meltdown, as people would just think he was doing it for attention. Anyways, they'd find out. They knew almost everything about him as it was. Besides, it was a pinch of bullying, and Harry could take it. He'd done it for years on end. Nothing new. Just as he began to fall into normal schedule, ignoring the fact that the task for the dragons and the first task was quickly approaching, something new happened. He wanted blood. Just a little bit. That really bothered Harry. Given Harry figured it might have something to do with the fact that his inheritance, I forgot that's a part of the story. Okay. I wonder which movie this is. Wait, it's Before the Order of the Phoenix. Is this Prisoner of Azkaban? No. Yeah, no. Is that before that? I think he's 15. I'm not too sure. So technically he's actually played in in England and other places in the world. Japan, except Shanghai, due to, not Shanghai, Tokyo being the center of prostitution, it's 18. So, and if Harry remembered correctly, he was sure his inheritance was something to do with a demon mixed with about 10% angel. Strange. Which was he couldn't exactly remember. An inheritance that wasn't supposed to come until he was much older. Maybe 16, if he was an early bloomer, given his sister had went through and inherited earlier due to the fact that Pansy had something come up. All right, her uncle tried to kill her. It was interesting, really, considering that Harry's uncle tried to kill him on a weekly basis, only stopping once Petunia began screaming that she still needed her slave. But Harry couldn't sit and think of the rules that fate handed him. You'll do this, you don't do this. For example, you'll participate in the Triwizard tournament versus you will not smack Dumbledore with a textbook or the Bible. If his fate was an early inheritance, so be it. It wasn't like Harry could really change his fate despite wanting to on multiple occasions. He would really like to have a day when adults stop screwing around his life, stop writing articles about him that weren't even true. He wished they'd go solve the problems they'd created and stop handing them to him on a silver platter. Harry would like to just relax, kick his feet back, and have a nice butter beer. But no. Instead, Harry was ignoring the urge to destroy Ron in more senses than one. First, there was the burning urge to just ruin Ron's reputation. Part of Harry was tempted to start an anonymous rumor about Ron being before realizing he had no clue how to really do that. The other part of him wanted to seek out Rita Skeeter and see how badly she could ruin Ron's reputation in the Ron's reputation in the ground. Secondly, there was the urge to slowly destroy Ron's sanity. If Harry toyed with him right, Ron might end up losing it, slowly inching Ron's belonging around, but not enough for it to be noticed. Maybe little spiders in Ron's bed would help, along with several anonymous spiders with silk webs under Ron's bed. Maybe a little tarantula. Harry could name it Tulia. The third urge truly terrified Harry, the urge to yam and torture. The urge to pick Ron apart piece by piece as was present. The urge to see what would make Ron scream the most, make him beg for Harry to be kind. There was the urge to put Ron in a room similar to Ginny's, to see how long Ron would last before breaking. Harry probably should check up on Ginny at some point to see how well she was holding up. Ginny couldn't die in there. The magic just allowed for the person inside to be immortal. Once removed, the results were unknown. The torture performed varied, from some physical, some emotional, and such. Harry didn't know how the she-weasel would be, what condition he'd find her. But Harry didn't want to get out of bed, so he didn't. Instead, falling asleep with Draco curled up next to him on the pillow. Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. 3 unforgivable things. Favorite place. All-time low featuring the band. The band Camino. Camino. 2 shout-outs to Cool Peeps. That's the author. Thanks for the comments. I'm randomly doing this sometimes now to acknowledge awesome people. Cool. All right, class. Settle down, chitted Professor Moody. His fake eye darted around, taking in the faces of his students. He torted over the board, grabbing a piece of chalk. There are unforgivable curses. Does anyone know the answer to this? Oh, there are blank unforgivable curses. I thought That's like how they wrote it, like for the thing. Moody strolled through the aisle of desks, frowning at the lack of students who raised their hands. Clearly, the education system had failed them, given the only competent teacher that they'd had was Lupin. So it is after that. Okay. Granger, go ahead and give us the answer. There are 3 unforgivable curses, sir, answered Hermione, smiling proudly after she answered. Her father had made his children known of this information. She was surprised. She was surprised Harry didn't answer, but he looked like he was trying not to use an unforgivable curse on Ron. Very good, said Moody, his voice gruff. 10 points to Gryffindor. Immediately he went back to the writing on the chalkboard. He filled in the blank letters, number. There are 3 unforgivable curses. The 3 unforgivable curses are blank, blank, and blank. Any volunteers? The only person who raised their hand was Hermione. Go ahead, Miss Granger. Give me one. The Imperious Curse, answered Hermione confidently. Very good, answered Moody. 20 points to Gryffindor. Now, who's next? Neville hesitantly raised his hand, clearly nervous about doing such. Moody smiled. Smiled, pleased that Neville raised his hand. The kid barely spoke in class willingly, only speaking when anything involving plants. Go ahead, Longbottom, give us the second unforgivable curse, the Crucius Curse, said Neville, hesitantly adding on the words, Sir. The curse terrified Neville the most, considering that his parents had been tortured into insanity with that curse in front of Neville when he was young. Correct, Longbottom. 20 points to Gryffindor. Moody smiled at his class. Now, for the last curse. Weasley, give me the answer. Ron jumped in his chair, his face flushed. He averted his eyes, looking at Harry expectantly. He was taking notes while Draco lied on his parchment. The killing curse? Moody frowned, not impressed in the slightest. 5 points to Gryffindor. He stared down Ron, noticing that Ron squirmed under his gaze. And I know what you were doing. You have detention with me whenever your detention's finished for a week. Ron's mouth went agape. But I'm not doing anything, Moody snarled. I highly suggest that you stop trying to grab Mr. Potter before he curses you. Malfoy curses you, Malfoy bites you, or I make an example of exactly whatever the curse on the board does. Is this clear? Ron nodded, paling. Yes. Good, said Moody, turning around and walking back to the board. For those of you who haven't taken down what's on the board, he was referring to Ron. As every other student present was taking notes. I suggest you do such. I'd hate to see any one of you fail my class, especially since some present can't afford it, unless you've purposely been trying to get kicked out of Hogwarts. Ron grimaced, squirming into a seat. That'd suck. Moody smiled shrewdly at him, almost glimmer of excitement in his dark, beady eyes. "Yes, Mr. Weasley. This is especially true because I'm referring to you." David knew the rules, that there was regulations that were almost against giving out personal information like that, but the weasel was so dense that he wouldn't get a hint. "Damn! How did he know that? Wait a second. He's the teacher." Ron's mind was scattered all over the place, his thoughts floating in every direction. Class dismissed," said Moody upon seeing the time. "Next time, be prepared for more notes and putting these curses to a test. Yes, a test. The imperious curse. This is the description of the curse. This curse can be used to control a person. When the caster casts the spell, the person or victim the curse is directed towards is now under the effects of the curse. Depending upon the victim, curse results may vary. If the person is able to break the curse by resisting, they will no longer be upon the curse. Some victims will awake in the middle of the curse as they're beginning to off-throw the curse. Some will never break away from the curse, as the curse will overpower them. They will die under the effects or become incarcerated due to the curse. Okay. There are many factors that can play into the curse's effect upon the victim. The most common factors are age, wealth, mental illness, amount of experience with the curse, and so on. Age will determine whether or not the victim will be easier to manipulate, children or the elderly. Wealth is a tough factor, as people have stood on both sides of the fence. Mental illness sometimes make a person easier or harder to manipulate. For example, people with anxiety are seen as more likely to give into the curse's side effects than people without anxiety. Amount of experience is explanatory. Never heard of that. Explanatory? There you go. I'm an idiot. The curse is very dangerous. One will do whatever the caster desires, which has led to terrible tragedies. The curse is easy to give into, as it gives one feel of serotonin, or in parentheses, peace and calmness, and relaxed. 2. Crucius curse. This curse can be used to torture a being. When the caster casts this curse, the victim will feel pain and inflicted upon them. The amount of time exposed to this curse will determine how the victim turns out. Some have been okay with only mental trauma remaining. Others, however, lose their sanity to die. If exposed for a year period of time, for a long period of time, this curse is known for making one feel like their nerves are on fire, usually used to torture situations as the pain is supposed to be unbearable. The killing curse. The curse is meant for killing. It is bright green in color. This curse has claimed many lives, meaning mainly under the ruling of a tyrant, or when dark lords or other parties try to take over. Using any of those curses could earn you a lifetime in Azkaban. Moody walked slowly around the room, looking at like a shark circling its prey. In the history of the curse, only one person has ever been known to survive. Moody turned to look at Harry. May I introduce Mr. Potter, the only survivor of the killing curse, and add that to your notes. Harry, blimey, Harry, said Ron. He really enjoys calling you out. Why does Harry enjoy being called out by him, and not me? Are you daft, Weasley? Oh, I've been speaking, and you've been drooling while staring. Tell me, is Harry Potter's shirt that arousing? Do we need to have a dress code rewritten? Because you can't act like a decent human being. Moody was sneering. His hard gaze caused Ron to flinch. No, sir, said Ron embarrassedly. His pale cheeks filled with pink hue, his eyes averting downwards. Blaise snickered, turning to Pansy. He's rather thick, isn't he? Millicent nodded, sneering in his direction. The bloody wanker. He's even thicker than your mum. No one said otherwise, Pansy said, shrugging her shoulders. He is pretty stupid. He might be even dumber than your mum's fifth husband, Blaise. Blaise shook his head, clearly ashamed. Arnold was a dumb man. He thought she loved him, and that was a fatal mistake. My mom loves no one. Well, she might love me, but definitely her money. She loved her money. Now, come forward and stand in line, said Moody, ushering his students forward. The line doesn't have to be necessarily straight, but I expect more order than this. Very good. Weasley, how many times do I have to tell you to touch? Not to touch. Malfoy, no biting. Weasley, stop growling. Harry sighed, wishing to bang his head on the desk so hard it'd explode. Draco, please stop. He didn't want Draco taken from him because they believed Harry couldn't control him. Draco stopped snarling at Ron, curling up on Harry's shoulder. He went back to sniffing Harry's shirt, occasional licking his clothes, his neck as well. Snorting, Ron snorted, whistling lowly. Damn Git acts like he owns you. How are you handling this? I feel so bad for you having to deal with that thick-headed dimwit. Harry snickered, as if he's the thick-headed dimwit. Harry turned around, no longer facing Ron. By the way, shut up. I might actually want to learn, unlike you. Harry didn't say, you dense-headed bimbo. At the end of the statement, he said that at the end of the statement, though just barely. All right, said Moody excitedly. Let's begin. He pulled out a jar with a spider in it, showing it to the class. This is an arachnid. Arachnid. Okay. More commonly known as a spider. Arachnid. Sorry, I was like, what? Arachnid. More commonly known as a spider. Let's hope no one has arachnophobia. David knew fully well that Ron had. The class began to whisper in hushed whispers, occasionally releasing a shocked gasp. Let me demonstrate, the imperious spell, or the imperious curse. Imperio! The spider's beady black eyes as dark as night sky, glazed over. Moody whispered softly, and the spider began to twitch. The spider, as big as Ron's head, jumped randomly from student to student, from being doing a dance on Parvati's arm, to dangling in on Lavender's hair, walking along most of Ron's body. The spider went. The spider then landed on Moody's finger, the curse dropping. Innocent fun, until I ordered the spider to hang itself by its web. Moody smiled, though it was a twisted smile. Now for the next curse, Crucio. The spider squealed, twitching uncontrollably. It flipped around uselessly, like a fish out of water. Neville felt his breathing hitch, the feeling of all oxygen leaving his lungs. He couldn't remember how to breathe suddenly. That damn noise, was the same noise he heard from his parents when they were tortured into insanity all those years ago. When the noise stopped, merely a few seconds later, oxygen slowly filled his lungs. His body trembled, but he was determined not to show that if it bothered him. Maybe later he could talk to Harry, considering that he trusted Harry out of all the boys in the dorms. Harry could also get away from Ron that way. Lastly, said Moody, Avada Kedavra. The spider dropped dead immediately, no longer twitching or moving a muscle. Dead was the spider that hadn't been alive only seconds earlier. The class that let out shocking gasps, save for a few. Harry was stone cold, as was Millicent. Now, we're going to practice breaking the imperious curse, said Moody, sounding unfazed. Despite killing a spider with a highly illegal curse, he remained unconcerned. Lavender danced around. Pansy acted like a rabbit. Blaze did a cartwheel. Hermione performed a strange bird whistle. Parvati jumped over a chair. Millicent pulled out a chair and stood on it. Theo sang. Neville danced around and sang something about prison and bullets in a flock of doves. And Ron touched the dead spider under the curse as they were unable to throw it off. The only successful one was Harry, who struggled a bit to throw it off, but eventually did throw it off. Class dismissed. Author's note. That's canon. Harry did throw off the curse the first time. I'm not writing him as a Mary Sue character. Also, I released that the school came to Hogwarts. Schools came to Hogwarts later in the story, and the goblet drawing was after this. However, I'm not changing it. This is a fanfic where everything can happen. Well, not really. It fit my story better this way. 21. Hungry Horntail. Horntail. Isn't that a type of bullfrog? No, I'm thinking about something else. Okay. Today I saw The Whole World Pierce the Veil. I've never heard of some of these bands. Are they popular? Because some of these, I'm like, I heard of black-veiled brides, and I've never heard of pierce the veil. Then again, I'm more of a metal music than anything. Third-person POV. Sick entertainment was the only words Harry could think up for the awful event. Innocent dragons, beautiful creatures, were being tortured. Those mother dragons believed that fake gold egg was one of their own, that someone was trying to steal it, which disgusted Harry to no end. Yet if this was done to humans, it would be inhumane and cruel. Harry really loved double standards. Fleur had went first. This made Harry slightly relieved, as he didn't have to go first. And at the same time, Harry was terrified that she would be hurt. With all the gasps of the overdramatic audience, Harry's nerves rose, as did his concern for the seemingly kind French blonde that Harry considered a friend. Victor Crumb went next, causing several students and staff members to cheer loudly. There was a few wolf whistles, which Harry was sure Victor had gotten before. One person even had the audacity to scream, "I can be the mummy of your children." What the Sorry, I broke character. Whew, first time in this video. Damn. Okay. Now the group had jeered at Fleur too. It wasn't quite the same. Jeers thrown at Fleur were very sexual, made mainly by horny teenage boys, the rich pureblood and the rich pureblood males. Not Lucius. Narcissa would beat him down. Girls that were attracted to Fleur held themselves together, as did other members of the audience that thought she was hella attractive. Victor's jeers were mainly that of wolf whistles, few vague sexual comments. Harry thought the whole thing was strange. Cedric turned to Harry, smiling faintly. "Guess it's just you and I, huh?" Harry nodded quickly. "I guess so. Draco's with me. Hermione. He's with me. He's with Hermione. He's with my... Hermione. Yeah, he's with Hermione." Cedric eyebrow creased. "Are Hermione and you a thing or something?" Harry shook his head furiously. "Absolutely not. I'm just using referring to her as my best friend. But I wasn't sure if you'd, No, I was referring to her." Cedric grinned. "Well, isn't that splendid?" He leaned closer. "After all, you told the champions the truth. Incest is something to be frowned upon." "Cedric, I'm pretty sure I'm as straight as a wave line," said Harry, tapping his toes on the ground. "I see," mused Cedric. He stood up, stretching, dressed in black and gold sweatshirt with the word Diggory engraved upon it. He looked ready to face his dragon. "Mr. Cedric Diggory," the speaker announced, although the dragon's loud roars blocked out part of the message. "Well, I must be going," said Cedric, slowly rising from where he was sitting next to Harry. "Good luck," said Harry. He wasn't trying to be generic, but he just really shouldn't say too much, with as many watchful eyes studying him so carefully. Especially since Reader Skeeter always had this strange way of finding out private information, which she then twisted to benefit herself. Rita Skeeter was the reporter for the Daily Prophet. She seemed hell-bent on twisting and manipulating stories to her benefit. She really seemed to have it for Harry, making him seem like a cowardly baby who missed his mommy and entered the competition out of pure boredom. With her quill, she wrote lies. It was the only thing she wrote. Oddly, some of the stories were completely made up, sounding like something that a baby would write, but worse. Harry rubbed his temples, sighing. He wasn't ready for this. He never would be. David sat in the stands, dread clawing at his stomach. There were so many things that could go wrong. It was just an endless list. So far, every champion sustained some form of injury. Some were smaller than others, and Harry was the youngest with the least amount of training. There was also the fact that Harry's death could very well fall into David's palm. If Harry got injured or died, the Dark Lord would go truly mad. David was sure losing a child would do that to someone. Needless to say, David would be tortured beyond madness. The Dark Lord killing him only once he saw that his son was beyond avenged. However, if Harry was killed, the Dark Lord wouldn't need to kill him. He'd drop dead right there from shock and guilt. David couldn't handle any more heartbreak, much less a death of such a bright young man. Hermione was sitting in the stands looking around. Her face was pale, her hands clenched. She was trying not to slap Ron. The only reason she didn't slap the fool was because she didn't want to get his stupidness on her hands. She was terrified for her brother, and Ron was acting like a complete barbarian. If anything happened to Harry, she'd murder Ron for the fun of it. Harry would want her to do that. And even though Harry was friends with David, she'd pierce his throat if Harry ended up badly injured or dead. Given she thought her brother would do perfectly. He was incredibly smart. Draco was perched upon her shoulder, glaring at all the loud people in the crowd. Okay, just Ron. He chattered nervously, unable to hide the fact that he was nervous. He chattered, annoyed. Ron, who grumbled about annoying ferrets. Partially that was why Draco kept chattering, although the large part was something to do with the incredible Harry Potter. Ron sat slightly further away from Hermione, glaring hatefully at everything and everyone. Ron nearly snarled when a first-year Ravenclaw bumped into him, telling the kid who apologized where they could stick their wand. Ron had been really moody recently, snarling at everyone. He tried his hardest not to do it at Harry. Recently he'd been a lot more hormonal. Today he was slightly irritable, although he was also in the mood to cuddle, only if one was Harry Potter, though. Albus Dumbledore sat calmly in the stands, sucking on a lemon gumdrop, his cold blue eyes scanning the crowd, landing upon Ron Weasley, the disgraceful Weasley that destroyed his mother's heart. Sooner than later, he'd no longer have to deal with that ugly, klutzy boy. Truthfully, he'd be okay if one of the dragons got up and ate him. Lots of less. That'd be less work for him, actually. The announcer's voice announced Cedric's time and earned some cheers from the Hogwarts school students. And now Harry Potter faces off against the Hungarian Horntail. Harry stepped out of the tent, spying a nest and 3 real dragon eggs and the fake golden one. Harry went and crouched beyond a rock, and was set up in the arena, waiting for the mother dragon to pop up. He was worried that the mama dragon would murder him for even stepping anywhere near her babies. The mother dragon appeared, spitting up fire. The rock Harry was hidden behind. She was weighted down slightly due to the heavy chains that went around each of her feet. Her roar angrily cleared, seething at the situation. "Hello there. I'm Harry. Please don't kill me," hissed Harry. I'm not going to do the hissing sound because I sound like a dork. The dragon could understand and answered. Harry wanted to cry right then and there. "Long story," answered Harry. "However, one of those eggs really isn't yours. The egg's fake, planted by the dumb humans who want to rile you up." The mother dragon snarled. "Then come and take it, strange little bean noodle. Get that tainted thing away from my babies." Harry bowed graciously. "Thank you." The mother dragon went and laid down beyond her nest, her eyes watching. Harry cautiously. "No problem. Just hurry along and you weird little cinnamon bun human Harry." Harry slowly walked over, taking the egg from her nest. "Thank you, madam. I'll leave you now." "All right, you old vanilla bean human," said the Hungarian Horntail, and snarling at Harry for show. "Run along." Harry walked out of the arena, hearing the whispering beginning. He really didn't care. He survived the first task. He retrieved the golden egg. He'd worry about the score later. It wasn't like he was in this to win anyway. He just wanted to survive. I don't blame him. Jeez, I would kill whoever put me in that thing. Because why the heck would you do that to me? Do you want to die? Ugh. Okay. Chapter 22. Good. Dance, Fallout Boy. Harry's POV. "Hurry up, the weirdo's coming," said some darker-haired girl, snickering. She toyed with her ponytail strands of her hair, strands of her hair falling out as she did such. "Oh dear, it's even worse," her friend sniffed the air, sneering. It brought the Weasley." The dark-haired girl smiled, her lips twisted into her lips twisting into a smile. Something about her smile didn't look particularly kind. Something more like she was waiting to sacrifice someone to Satan. Of course, Abigail. Haven't you heard?" Her friend smirked, raking a hand throughout her coffee-colored hair. A piece fell on her pale face when she quickly moved away. "No, Sarah, but you're about to tell me." "Weasleys, have a special smell. Garbage, Sarah grinned, looking over my shoulder at Harry and the ferret that rested on his shoulder. I think I understand now. After all, trash does tend to hang out with trash. Harry snickered, though it sounded forced. I guess the same could be said about you too, of course. Now, kindly get the hell out of my way so that I can get to my breakfast while it's still hot. 50 points from both Gryffindor and Ravenclaw. I expected better from you, Sarah Jane. I'm hoping this won't be something that I have to talk to Professor Flitwick about. Moody saw standing further behind Harry, scowling at the girls. When did he even get there? Of course not, sir, said Sarah, blushing at being called out. It won't happen again. Let us hope not, said Moody, lumping forward. Run along. The whole lot of you. Don't get into any further trouble. He slowly strolled into the great hall, frowning the whole time. Harry walked on, a curious look on his handsome face. His fingers stroked Malfoy's fur, something he'd been doing a lot of recently. Strands of his ebony black hair fell on his face, not that he really cared. His glasses sat upon the end of his nose as they frequently slid further down his nose. He daintily sat between Seamus, I keep on saying his name wrong, Seamus and Neville. I know how to say his name, but one time I said, I went up to my dad because he used to read Harry Potter, but then after I think Order of the Phoenix, he was like, this dumb, I'm gonna stop writing it. He stopped collecting them after that, but I said, is it Seamus or Seamus? He said, how dare you, it's Seamus. And I went, oh, okay, I'm sorry. He scolded me for it, and I was like, ooh, Harry Potter fan. Seamus and Neville chattering amiably with them. Neville, the arrogant twat, sat smugly on Harry's shoulder, looking smug the entire time. His gray eyes glittered with smugness, like they usually did. When he did that, I returned that I almost successfully killed him once, just so I remembered that he wasn't that powerful. He nibbled on a piece of food Harry fed him, and I hoped that he would choke and die. I, unfortunately, was stuck sitting next to Lavender and Neville. Neville was laughing about something Harry said, Hermione smiling from where she was sitting across from Neville. Lavender chatted with Parvati, holding her hand. They couldn't possibly be dating. Immediately, I looked down at my food. I wanted to stuff my mouth full of the food, but at the same time, I wanted to scream about how terrible it was. The food on my plate consisted of a mushy breakfast biscuit, an apple that was way too waxy, some weird pile of goop that I'm really hoping it's oatmeal, and an orange-colored drink. I made this weird selection, and now I'm dreading eating any of it. Mr. Weasley, the headmaster, sent me with a note, said Nigel, one of the weaker students. He walked off, sitting further down the table with Frank and Raymond. Cautiously, I peered around, making sure that I was in safe zone of opening it. I could have waited until later, but this time I did that. I was scolded. My mother also slapped me multiple times. I was a few minutes late to one of Albus's useless meetings. Not that any of his meetings were really insightful. I opened the envelope right after seeing that everyone was engaging in a conversation, not really caring of what I did. In my office, 1 sugar cubes. None of the letters were very long. Usually just long enough to tell me the basics, location, time, and password. I really didn't want long letters, considering that reading them just annoyed me, and that long letters always meant bad things for me. Miserably, I ate my cold, soggy food. It was awful, especially considering that it was Saturday's breakfast. It might have helped now that I had this terrible meeting to look forward to. Mother was standing in front of Albus's desk, looking rather annoyed when her hair scrunched up. She looked older. She aged 10 years since the last time I saw her. Perhaps she had given the fact that she had a disappointment of a son, me. Or maybe everything she continued to dabble around with and tried to control was finally catching up to her. The dress she wore didn't help. Albus scratched his long white beard, studying me cautiously. His cold blue eyes stared intently into mine, never blinking. It was weird, almost like he practiced. He then smiled, offering me a lemon drop. Strange, he never smiles at me. Ever. Nothing has gone to plan, right? Mother looked nervously to Dumbledore, fanning herself with her hand. She dramatically bit down on her lip, heaving her breathing. Nothing of the sort, my dear girl, cooed Albus, looking at my mother with a gentle, tender look. On the contrary, everything is going excellent. Rumors are destroying Harry's reputation, so no one will believe a word he says. It'll be perfect. No one will question that all the boy says is lies. Mother grinned, though she immediately paled afterwards. What about when you-know-who returns? No one will believe the boy. My dear girl, cooed Albus, smiling gently. I'll help him out. I'll vouch for him, and there'll be one more factors that'll help his case. Albus turned to me, opening the drawer. This is where you come in, Ron. Something in my chest felt heavy. I think I was starting to understand where this was going. Sir? In his wrinkled hand he held a tall vial. Inside the vial was a pink liquid sloshed around, glimmering under the lights. I'm sure you know what this is, correct? Isn't this illegal? How'd he get some? Didn't they teach it in potions class? What year was that? Half-Blood Prince didn't happen yet, sorry. Slowly I nodded my head. Yeah, okay. He nodded, smiling at me. Slowly I nodded my head. Of course, sir, it's a love potion. But the problem is, I don't think it works if you're actually in love, right? And I think Harry's actually in love with Draco. so hopefully it doesn't work. He nodded, smiling at me. Very good. Now all you need to do is give Harry the vial of potion, and he'll be head over heels in love with you. Now, you must be discreet, or else. Or else what? Mother nodded, smiling thinly. Now, if you want, I can get you a more personal drink. You know, one you can give him in the privacy of the dorm. You suck someone off. Go suck someone off. Wow. I've never heard of that one. Go suck someone off. I've never heard of that. That's different. Albus's face turned grim. You must come and get regular doses for him. If the potion wears off, he will know. If you get caught, you will get a life sentence in Azkaban. Should you be caught, you'll say it was your own idea, that you just wanted him to notice you. Something desperate, which isn't a lie. He'd never notice you on your own. I nodded, feeling all the food I'd eaten before beginning to rise in my throat. Of course, sir. I can't do this. Very well, said Albus slowly, handing me the vial. He waved his hand in dismissal. Off with you. You're dismissed. I hurried out of his office, throwing in a quick thank you, sir, thank you for giving me the chance, and despite me being a waste of space. I hurried out of the bathroom, puking up my guts in the toilet. I don't believe, despite how badly I wanted to be with Harry, that I could give him the potion. I need help. Author's note. Do you think Ron will do it? What about Molly's treatment of her son? Not noticing her daughter's missing. Yeah, what the fuck is all that about? She's not noticing her own daughter's missing? What kind of bullshit is that? And don't give me the bullshit excuse that she doesn't matter. Isn't she part of the Order, though? Isn't that why she was trying to, seduce Harry? Something doesn't belong here, you know. Okay, guys, thank you guys for watching. I hope you liked it. Like, share, comment. Wow, frig. It's 2 a.m. I just did this for a whole entire hour. I'm tired now, I think. It's kind of like my head's in the clouds and I don't know what I'm talking about. You know, that feeling. Okay, if you want me to do another creepypasta and you are a creepypasta fan, please check this one out. I said it in the front part, so if you have listened to this and you are a creepypasta fan and you have a suggestion, comment down below. Or you want me to do it, just say so. If you have other suggestions, you have my Wattpad. It's down in the description. And you can contact me on my social media. Just contact me if you need anything. Like this video. Give it a big thumbs up so I know that you liked it. Subscribe. And put on push notifications. Join the Nightmare Squad. Become my little nightmares. Is it like my children or something? Mama Nightmare is amazing, by the way. That's my mother. Be happy, be healthy, and always be loving. Love you guys. Bye-bye.